Firebrand, agitator, radical, hero? How to describe John Knox? He was the forceful personality behind Scotland's Protestant Reformation, and he changed the face of the nation forever. His legacy is still very much being debated on the very streets that he once walked. This is John Knox's Edinburgh.
Knox, perhaps the single most definitive figure of Scotland's Protestant Reformation, was a fascinating and complex character. He began humbly enough in the East Lothian town of Haddington, but soon found himself at the centre of the 16th century's most tumultuous period. After his friend, mentor and fellow reformer George Wishart was burnt at the stake in St Andrews in 1546, Knox and several Fife lairds were besieged by Catholic forces in St Andrews Castle. When the castle fell to French cannons, Knox became a galley slave in the French Navy for 19 months, all while yearning to return to Scotland to fan the flames of Reformation. He finally did so in 1555, and upon his return to Scotland after this ordeal, Knox earned his place among Scotland's most influential historical figures. It was here, at St Giles Cathedral on the Royal Mile, that Knox marched an army of followers to deliver a fiery sermon. Knox's sermons were well known for lasting many hours, and his passion never seemed to flag. He became Minister of St Giles in 1559, and a year later the Scottish Parliament abolished papal authority and became, officially at least, a Protestant country. Walk the Royal Mile, especially the stretch between St Mary Street and St Giles Cathedral, and the sights you see are not wholly different from those Knox knew in the 1550s and 60s.
In John Knox's time, this area was, and very much still is, the beating heart of Edinburgh. It's where the three main factors that dictated people's lives converged: work, kirk, and king.
Knox's Edinburgh teemed with timber lean-to shops called luckin booths. Then there were the crowds gathered to watch criminals punished at the Market Cross. Peddlers plied their trade in the narrow closes, and there was the bustle of butchers, bakers, caddies, sailors, and more all going about their way, not to mention the infamous Gardy-Lou splattering the streets. As far as Knox was concerned, sin was never far away. A few stones throws down the Royal Mile from St Giles is one of the oldest and most beautiful houses in Edinburgh, the aptly named John Knox House. Ironically, at the time Knox possibly lived here, it was owned by James Mossman, a loyal goldsmith to none other than Mary, Queen of Scots. The story of Knox's life and the course of the Reformation are told within. Documents precious to both are on display, including the Geneva Bible of 1560 and Knox's own History of the Reformation of Scotland, some of which may have been written within these very walls. The storied connection to John Knox later saved the building from disaster. In 1840, the tenement next door split in two and the whole complex was in danger of demolition, but antiquarians and the Church of Scotland intervened on behalf of its famous former tenant. Mary, Queen of Scots, was Scotland's monarch during much of Knox's tenure, and few pairings of crown and kirk sat as uncomfortably together as them. Knox had even written a pamphlet, the first blast of the trumpet against the monstrous regiment of women, on what he argued were the dangers of a female monarch. And there was Mary, not just a woman, but a Catholic woman at that. Knox simply couldn't abide it.
It was here at Holyrood Palace and Abbey where John Knox and Mary, Queen of Scots, had their famous encounters, and on the third such occasion, Knox gave Mary such a brutal verbal lashing due to her supposed immorality that he reduced the young queen to tears.
"What have ye to do with my marriage?" demanded of Knox, "or what are ye within this commonwealth?" His reply became famous. "A subject born within the same, madam, and albeit I neither be earl, lord, nor baron within it, yet as God made me, however abject I be in your eyes, a profitable member within the same."
You'll now find John Knox in a most unexpected place, under space number 23 of the car park of the Court of Session, right alongside St Giles Cathedral in central Edinburgh. He is overlooked by the statue of King Charles II, a monarch who lived 100 years after Knox and who was a firm believer in divine right monarchy. No doubt Knox would delight in lecturing him for hours.
This was once the kirkyard for St Giles, and local legend holds that Knox was not relocated to Greyfriars Kirkyard like the others, for fear of what disturbing his remains might bring upon them. There are numerous statues of Knox throughout town, most notably inside St Giles Cathedral and within the awe-inspiring courtyard of the new college on the Mound, a fitting location for a man who proclaimed that there should be a school within every parish.
Whether you view Knox's legacy as one of stern repression or liberation, there's no denying that he changed Scotland forever, and he did so more than anywhere else from amongst the stones and streets of Edinburgh. Be sure to visit historyscotland.com for a wealth of travel and history guides dedicated to Scotland.